going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming 212 Mr. Olympia, starting with Keone Pearson. So Keone posted an update today at less than 2 weeks out now, 10 days from the 2024 Mr. Olympia. Now, Keone has been pretty open this prep. He's posted a lot of updates, a lot of full posing videos, even in like posing trunks, the whole 9 yards. He's very confident in how he's looking. And I think some of the pictures that we've seen and the videos from this prep suggest that Keone, his lower body, is arguably the best it's ever looked during this prep. That was something that in the past was a big point of criticism for Keone. At one point, even the size of the lower body was the criticism. But even when he was winning shows early on in 212, that was like the main point of criticism was he needs to be sharper, especially in the glutes and hamstrings. And we've definitely seen him do that. But in this particular update, the focus is his quads. The cross striations in his quads are absolutely insane here. I think this is probably the best shape that we've ever seen Keone in before any show ever. And Keone is still my pick to win this year's Olympia. I think he will successfully defend his title and win again. And every update that we've seen from him is just extremely impressive to me. I mean, I think when it comes down to this conversation of Keone versus Shaun Clarida, who we're going to talk about in a second here, the main thing that people keep bringing up is conditioning. Like, obviously, Keone has this very aesthetically pleasing physique, great structure. I would say maybe more muscle, maybe not pound for pound than Shaun, but he's taller, so he's heavier, and technically he's got more muscle on his frame. But Shaun is a little like mini mass monster in his own right. He's got a, pound for pound, maybe the most muscle you could even pack on a frame that small. But anyway, the main point that people keep coming back to with Keone versus Shaun is that Shaun brings this crazy world-class conditioning that Keone can't hang with. And another point of criticism that I've seen is, well, Keone only won because Shaun was off last year. So people are also saying Keone needs to step up his conditioning even from last year to win again and beat Shaun, whether Shaun's off or not. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing from Keone in these updates. I even saw a comparison. This was from TFE Media's Instagram page. They put up a comparison of Keone from the Olympia last year in the recent pictures that we just talked about. And you can see, and granted, this is not a good apples-to-apples comparison. The lighting's different. Obviously, stage photos and Instagram pictures are two completely different things. There's tons of cases where people look better on Instagram than they do on stage. Sure, so take this with a bit of a grain of salt. But you could argue that at 10, 11 days out in this picture, he looks sharper now before he's really started peak week. Before he's really started that serious phase of depletion. He looks sharper now. The striations look deeper, crisper, drier at 10, 11 days out than they did on stage last year. If you look at his glutes, the striations in his glutes, and granted, it's a different angle, different lighting. Again, just take it with a grain of salt. His glutes look more striated here than they did on the Olympia stage last year when he won. So I think we've got to give Keone some props here because the main thing that everybody keeps hammering him on is better conditioning. And every update that I think we've seen from Keone for this prep suggests that he's doing exactly that. Now, we did also get a recent update from Shaun Clarida at 10 days out. Shaun is looking to come get that title back and make Keone a one-and-done champion. And like I said, in Shaun's own right, Shaun is a freaky bodybuilder. For as short as he is and as small as his frame is, when you see him hitting this most muscular, it's hard not to be impressed with the amount of muscle that Shaun has on that frame and how freaky somebody that weighs less than 200 pounds can look at that body weight. Shaun, he is a freak. And I do agree that part of the reason that Shaun lost last year was because he was off. But I think the other big part of that reason was because Keone had improved so much from the year prior. Which, I mean, is evident by his placings. He was 6th in 2022 and moved all the way up to winning the thing in 2023. He was that good. He was that improved. And by all indicators, it looks like he is going to be improved for this Olympia as well. And I think the big issue between Keone and Shaun, I would agree, is mostly conditioning. Shaun does bring crazy condition, but I think the other factor to consider here, in addition to Keone's aesthetics, is Shaun is really limited by his frame and his height. There's only so much muscle he can pack onto that frame without throwing off his balance or maybe making his midsection more distended. There's not a ton of room for Shaun to make really big changes from Olympia to Olympia because of his frame, other than maybe coming in sharper conditioning. But as far as putting on size, I don't think he's got a whole lot of room to do that. Whereas Keone does, especially from last year. So yeah, Shaun could come in better condition than he did last year, but I think other than that, you're not going to see very many noticeable changes. So if Shaun comes in, let's say better condition, but Keone also comes in better condition, maybe made some improvements, maybe added some size. His back, to me, looks denser than it was last year. So if Keone comes in better condition as well, and he's a little bit bigger, made some improvements, I still see him winning again. And I think while we're having this 212 discussion, we should also go ahead and jump into the 212 lineup, since we haven't really talked about it much. It's a bit smaller than the classic physique lineup that we talked about the other day. But you've got Keone Pearson, Shaun Clarida, Angel Calderon Frias, who was also top 3 last year, and I think maybe an underrated bodybuilder in this conversation. Kim Jun-woo, Ahmad Ashkanani, Vitor Alves Porto de Oliveira, Ole Crivier, Jafar Gafarnazad, Giuseppe Christian Zagarella, Esteban Fuquente, Nasser Muhammad, Mayday Jabrinzizad, Kareth Bajo, who I really like as well, and he was also one of the top guys last year. He was top 4 at the 2023 Mr. Olympia, so he's a really impressive guy as well. Marco Ruz, Marcelo Alfonsi, Jordan Janowitz, Francisco Barrios VLK, Fabricio Morea, and Muzi Maluleke. So if you look back at last year's 212 Olympia, it was Keone and Shaun. I still think those are going to be the two guys battling for the top 2. So Keone first, Shaun second. Angel Calderon in 3rd, Kareth Bajo in 4th, Ahmad Ashkanani 5th, and Ole Crivier in 6th. So all of those top 6 guys are going to be back this year. They're all qualified. They're all back. But I still think it's going to be between Keone and Shaun. And I could maybe even see an argument for Kareth potentially moving up into the top 3 and really challenging Angel Calderon. But Angel's very good too. He does well even in open shows. But let me know in the comments below your top 6 212 Olympia predictions in order and who you've got winning, either Keone or Shaun. Now, next up in the news, a guy that we haven't talked about a whole lot going into the Olympia that posted a pretty impressive-looking update. Akim Williams posting an update at less than 2 weeks out from the Olympia. Looking very impressive. He tends to post these updates from the side because those are really impressive shots for him, particularly in the lower body. He shows off a lot of definition in his quads from the side. And it's always kind of difficult to predict with Akim because keep in mind, a few years back, he was top 6 at the Olympia. I believe that was 2020. He didn't make an appearance at last year's Olympia in 2023, but then in 2022, he was tied for dead last with 17th place. He's a very, very hit or miss guy, and he's very difficult to predict because going from 6th to dead last that quickly and then skipping last year, it's really hard to say where he's going to fall in this lineup, how he's going to look, how conditioned he's going to be. But man, when I see these updates from Akim, he does have such a freaky physique. He's got so much muscle. And when he's in shape, when he's conditioned, he looks so impressive. But he's just one of those guys that he's always kind of a wild card because you never know how he's going to look. But you see updates like this and you kind of think to yourself, man, how is this guy not one of the top 6 or even top 10 guys? He looks so crazy in this picture. And he's just one of those guys that has a really hard time translating kind of that Instagram look to the stage look. And he always comes in with kind of thick skin. He never really has that crisp, super dry conditioning. He never really seems to nail it. And the closest that he came, I think, was that 2020 Mr. Olympia where he was top 6. But man, I'm interested to see how he does at the Olympia because I look at this update and you can't deny he looks super impressive. Maybe not the most detailed through his arms and his chest, but you look at the size of his arms and his chest and the size of his legs, and there is a good amount of detail in his legs in these pictures. It's kind of hard to tell with his upper body, honestly, with the those big strips of athletic tape kind of covering the shoulders and where the striations would be in the chest. But the guy is undoubtedly impressive. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel, and consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.